Space. Consciously or unconsciously, we all want a space of our own. We all need a space of our own. But to what extent we actually are getting it? Do we even realize when we are being deprived of our own space? Or do we realize when we deprive others of their own space? What happens when there is lack of space? And who are the others? And who are we? Who is in the position to decide?
Floweret, as we can see here, is representing an Oriental woman from the standpoint of the power holder, both as an Occident and as a male. From Floweret's description, we get the idea of how Orients are illustrated in the eyes of an Occident and how women are represented in the eyes of a man. As we all know, knowledge is produced by discourse, and discourse is produced by power. Here, this Occidental man holds the power of discourse, and therefore he produces the knowledge of this Oriental woman who cannot do it herself because she doesn't have the space, or rather, she isn't given the space. She isn't given the space because she is an Orient and she is a woman.
In order to establish themselves as superior, men need an inferior other. It is caused by the fear of male race that the inferior might deny to play the role if they are given space to produce discourse. So, they are not supposed to talk, not supposed to write, not supposed to come out of their inferior zone. Even when it comes down to the issue of women, it is raised by men. Woolf identifies this problem in A Room of One's Own, where her alter ego Mary Baton finds numerous books on women written by men, but not a single one that was written by women, which gives men the power and authority to construct an image of woman. This is one of the most important reasons why female, just like Orient, has no space. It is same with the hierarchical relationship between Occident and Orient, which is mirrored in Afraben's account of Orinoco, where the tale of an Orient is narrated by an Occident, the same fear of a takeover. Now, naturally, the question of identity arises. Who manifests whose identity? Since the Occident and the male are in control of the power, they have undertaken this task to manifest the identity of the inferior, that is, Orient and female other.
Women are represented by men, and thus the male gaze stays dominant. In the case of the Orient, it is shown by the Occident, and even the Orient sees themselves from an Occident point of view because of the powerful discourse. Cleopatra, the last active pharaoh, has not been recognized for her achievements as a ruler. Rather, the stereotypical representation of Cleopatra shows how she was an unmatched fair beauty, had an affair with two men, and thus reducing her to a mere object of fantasy.
Even when women are given the political space, are only given that space hegemonically. In most cases, they are used as a puppet, either to serve to the political interest of men or as a representation of a radical development in gender treatment. At the same time, Occidental political leaders involve themselves in Orient politics for their own gain under the pretense of a well-wisher. A set image is constructed by the Occidental men of power, which can sometimes be even brutally demeaning. For example, Kim Jong-un, as portrayed in the movie The Interview, is quite shocking if we rethink the comedy as a hegemonic approach to Occidental representation of the Orient. Has anyone, for instance, ever made such a movie on George W. Bush?
Men tend to overlook female potential and question their abilities. Similarly, Occidents tend to override the possibility that a more independent or more skeptical thinker than themselves might have a different view on a matter, which leads to the lack of space.
Orients have space, but no space. This is although they have geographical space, they don't have cultural space. Hegemony domination and culture domination have confined their space into certain bounds, while women have no space at all, neither material nor cultural. While a male poet has the freedom to wander around alone in dark alleys for his poetic inspiration at even 3 in the morning, a female poet can hardly cross her own neighborhood after 12 a.m. if she is alone. No matter how much she might have craved for inspiration, no matter how much she needed it for the flowering of her genius, things have hardly changed from the time of Virginia Woolf, while the imaginary Judith Shakespeare had to commit suicide. The very real Clostima Nasreen had to be exiled.
And when the others, that is, the women and the Orient, are given some required space, it comes under a banner with conditions apply written over it. That is why, even when Afra Ben tries to promote the Orient, she consciously or unconsciously set some rules for the Orient to get accepted by the Occident. Orinoco was beautiful because he fits the Western standard of beauty rather than being beautiful in his own native way. The situation today has not changed much. We can easily see it from all the fairness products that has been ruling the cosmetics market. The common statement of all this product is really simple. You'll have to be fair, that is white, in order to be beautiful, which eventually came from the statement that you'll have to be fair to be accepted as beautiful by the whites. Similarly, you have to be beautiful in order to get accepted by the men. So the bottom line is, you have to be fair and beautiful to be accepted by the superior others, that is, the male and the Occident.
You guys are eating burgers?
Hey, summer's over.
Halloween's coming. You gotta stay in shape for all the costumes.
What's that?
You know, like attractive nurse, spicy Red Riding Hood, Viking princess warrior, hot devil, sassy teacher, and foxy fullback. Touchdown.
Can we go over the Viking lady again?
Whatever you're staying fit for, start at Subway. With loads of delicious low-fat sandwiches like tender turkey piled with any of your favorite veggies. Subway, eat fresh.
The modern Western world accuses the Orients, especially the Middle Easterns, of oppressing women and not giving them their space. While it can't be denied, the situation in the West isn't actually a whole lot better. The stereotypical objectification and the hegemonic self-objectification of women in West is often confused with freedom or space. The West tries to show that women's lack of space is an Oriental problem rather than a global one. But if we look at the popular media of the West, which influences the media of the whole world, everything starting from news broadcast, advertisement, music to big budget movies objectifies women. As a result, women are defined by their physical appearance rather than their intelligence, and they feel the need to keep a certain appearance to be accepted, which results in self-objectification.
The same situation is applicable to a stereotypical image of the Orient. Whenever the Orient people are represented in the modern media, they are shown either as the source of terror or amusement.
The question of women's space will continue to remain unless we break the gender stereotypes in our society for both women and men. Because while we teach our daughters to dream big and stand for themselves, we forget to teach our sons to be supportive of those dreams. We forget to encourage them to be a part of the team that is led by the sisters. We forget to teach them not to be skeptical of women's abilities. This code of masculinity creates a barrier that prevents men from acknowledging women as their equal and robs women of their space. Thus, the only available space we leave for women is the space in their home.
Similarly, Orients will continue to suffer from identity crisis and lack of space unless they're seen as individuals first rather than Orients. That won't happen until we try to see beyond the stereotypes that popular discourses forced upon us.